what's up? We're back, guys. We're just going to do a quick little video here for the main card for Bellator 248. So we're just going to get started right away. First fight, Oliver Enkamp taking on Emmanuel Dawa. And Oliver Enkamp, he did bounce back pretty good since being released from the UFC. He's won 2 fights in a row. Both in Bellator, 2 finishes. His last fight, he got a spinning back elbow knockout. And Emmanuel Dawa is his opponent. He's going to be fighting in France here in his home country, so gonna have that advantage there. And he's 9-3 overall. He's making his debut in Bellator. His competition level has been pretty low, but you know, he has 7 finishes. He's been finishing all 3 of his losses. He's a Sanda guy. He's big for the division. He competes at 185, 170. This fight's gonna be at 70. And on the feet, he's athletic. He moves around and feints a lot. Looks like he has power. He'll throw some big low kicks, good jabs, big overhand right. And when he gets tired, though, he'll just throw a lot of wild kicks out there. Super wild with his striking. Doesn't look like he's the toughest guy either. He doesn't like getting hit. Kind of has a weak chin. He'll give big reaction to feints and panic wrestles a lot. He does have a decent body lock, and he can control on top. He'll take the mount. He has pretty good ground and pound. He only has 2 submissions, but good control, good passing ability. He's not really the best wrestler overall. His wrestling isn't set up well. It could be just a little sloppy, and he's a weird guy. He jokes around a lot in the cage, runs a lot, fights at a weird rhythm. His volume is low, really struggles with forward pressure, doesn't have very good boxing. He's older at 35 years old, and he's going to be fighting in his home country, though. He's going to be gunning for his 7th knockout probably, and he is dangerous because he'll throw wild strikes, and he's athletic, and he can wrestle a little bit, so he can mix it up. But overall, I'm just not super impressed with him. Oliver Enkamp, he's not the best fighter, but he's well-rounded. He can grapple, he can strike, and kind of has a wide stance on the feet. Tries to walk guys into long strikes, throw these spins, good spinning kicks, good spinning attacks, like spinning back fists, spinning back elbows, and he can grapple. I believe that his grappling is good enough to counteract the grappling of Emmanuel Dawa. He's definitely fought much higher level competition. He's getting a little bit older now. He's probably getting more confident, more into his own, and I believe he's a little bit better here on the ground, on the feet. I believe he has a big advantage. The only thing is he does give up some bad positions on the ground, and he can be taken down, and Dawa's a guy that does spam takedowns, so if he can win some scrambles, Dawa that is, and get on top, cement position, I mean, he could steal some rounds away, but I'm going to go with Oliver Enkamp because I just think that he's the tougher guy. I think that he hits harder. I think that on the feet he's going to have a huge advantage, and unless he just gets grinded out, controlled on the ground, I see him getting the win here, so I got to go with Oliver Enkamp. I think that he's just the more well-rounded fighter. He's fought the better competition and should get the win here inside the distance. And in the co-main event here, we got a rematch with Cheick Kongo coming back. He's going to be fighting against Timothy Johnson, and I guess that's a quasi #1 contenders match. Cheick Kongo is coming off his title fight with Ryan Bader, where he was losing really badly until that weird eye poke situation ended the fight in a no contest. And Timothy Johnson, he has back-to-back wins after starting 0-2 in Bellator. He came in there, he fought Vitaly Minakov, he fought Cheick Kongo, and then he fought Vitaly Minakov, got knocked out in both fights in the first round. Then he came back and actually knocked 2 guys out in the first round, and Matt Mitrione and Tyrell Fortune. So he's had an interesting career so far in Bellator. The first time these 2 guys fought, like I said, Kongo got the first round knockout. If you look at Johnson's record, all 4 of his Bellator fights were finished in the first round, and 5 of his last 6 fights overall finished in round 1. So recently he's been getting out of there early. And Johnson's kind of been one of those guys throughout his whole career. If you look at his career, 12 of his 20 fights have been finished in the first round, and after that, only 3 finishes. So he's usually like a guy that he'll go in there, he'll get the finish in the first, or it goes to decision. But Cheick Kongo, he did win the first matchup, but that was almost 2 years ago at this point. And Cheick Kongo's not getting any younger, man. He's almost 45 years old. It's been over a year since he's fought, and I feel when he stepped in there with Ryan Bader, he looked a little bit washed up. And Tim Johnson, it is a better matchup for Kongo, and being in France, I'm sure he's going to be super pumped up to be fighting on this event, and he's an OG of OGs, man. The guy has 16 Bellator fights, the most of any heavyweight in Bellator history. 34 fights combined between UFC and Bellator, which is the most of any heavyweight in history. And in the first fight, Kongo pretty much dominated. He was able to use his good footwork and movement to avoid getting backed up with the forward pressure of Johnson, and countered him, knocked him out. He landed a couple nasty low kicks, eventually landed a shot behind the ear, rocked him, and Johnson tried in on a bad takedown, got reversed, finished. And we never really got to see Johnson get his wrestling game going, but the striking advantage was pretty evident there. Kongo fights at a slow pace. He's much slower these days, but walks fighters into punches, straights, overhands. On the inside, he has those tight short hooks, uppercuts, and in the clinch, he'll throw some big knees, and he's gotten better with his clinch control. In Kongo's last fight, he really didn't like the speed of Ryan Bader. Looked really slow out the start of the fight, and Bader just backed him up quickly, landed some big shots, hurt him, eventually ducked under, hit a double, was dominating him on top, and he was beating him up, and kind of like he framed off of his face and accidentally eye poked him, and the fight was called with a no contest. So Kongo, was on his way to losing, in my opinion, in that fight. Kind of got a life raft there and got the no contest. But Tim Johnson, he's looked pretty good in his last two fights. He went in there with Tyrell Fortune, landed a really nice knockout with that lead hook, the right hook. He went with a rear uppercut, right hook combo that slept Tyrell Fortune, and he's aggressive. He's a southpaw, obviously uses big punches to close the distance, and then likes to grind you against the fence, take you down, has good ground and pound, good control on top. He's a good wrestler, and his last fight was a little weird as well, just like Kongo's, because he headbutted Matt Mitrione and got on top of him, finished the fight. So you could almost argue that should be a no contest, but he got the win, and he's coming back just a month later, whereas Cheick Kongo has taken like a year away from the octagon, or from the cage. So I think that's a big advantage for Tim Johnson. But it is going to be in France, where Cheick Kongo's from. I'm sure he's going to be very pumped up from that, and this is a hard fight to call, because I still feel like Kongo's still going to have the advantages early with the striking, with the movement, and he's going to be able to maybe get another knockout again. And if Timothy Johnson can't control him against the fence, can't take him down, he's going to have to strike with him, and that's kind of like, I don't know, I mean, I think it's like 50-50 where they both could get a knockout. I'm going to go with Tim Johnson. I'm going to go with Tim Johnson here to get the upset, because he's the underdog, but no faith in this fight. I would not bet it, and Kongo could easily win again. Yeah, I just don't have a good read on that fight at all, but I'm going to go with Timothy Johnson because he's the underdog, and I think he could get a knockout. Kongo looked a little bit chinny in his last fight, was a little bit slow out the gates, and I think if Kongo gets out of that first round, maybe he'll slow down. Maybe Timothy Johnson will be able to grind on him, use his wrestling to get the win. So I'm going to go with Johnson to get the win here. In the main event here, we got Michael Venom Page. He's going to be taking on Ross Houston. And on paper, it's a pretty decent fight. It's two undefeated guys. It's a Cage Warriors champ coming over fighting a really, really big name in Bellator. But to me, it's kind of a tailor-made matchup for Michael Venom Page, man. Ross Pearson, he's from Scotland. Ross Houston, he's from Scotland. So he's from SBG, trains also at another SBG gym as well, like SBG Ireland and then SBG Morai or something like that. And so he's not really a grappler. He has shown grappling in fights, like Control against the Octagon. He's gotten some takedowns, and he has a couple submissions on his record, but he's not like a guy that's a D1 wrestler. He never, I don't think, wrestled growing up, so he's not really going to be, in my opinion, an overwhelming MVP with grappling. If he does, that's going to be the path to victory for him, is Control MVP against the cage, where I will say he has shown that in the past. He's been able to control some guys against the fence, and he was able to take down, I think Nathan Jones went for a takedown, reversed, and got on top, took his back, submitted him, and Nathan Jones is a black belt, but Ross Houston, he's more of a guy that he gets guys to shoot in on him, has heavy hips, reverses the takedown, gets on top, and then he can work from top position. But I don't really see him shooting takedowns here. And against a guy like MVP, it's obviously really hard to get into his range and shoot on him anyways. Ross Houston, he's a guy, hands down style. He likes to, use his link, drop the 2 in, has a good jab, good forward pressure, but not a lot of power. He has no knockouts. He's gotten hit entering range in multiple fights that I've seen him where he's got dropped and things like that. And he's never fought someone like MVP who can move, who can counter, who can catch him coming in like MVP can. So I just feel like this is an easy fight for Michael Venom Page. I think he's going to dominate, win the fight inside the distance. I mean, we've seen what Michael Venom Page does in there, man, dancing, dicing these dudes up, and yeah, I see him doing that again. I see him get another knockout, and man, I mean, I want to see him get a step-on competition, see what happens, because this is a good fight on paper, like I said, but Ross Houston, hands-down style, comes forward a little bit, aggressively, but a little bit recklessly as well, and I've seen him dropped, I've seen him hurt. He is a tough guy, but I just don't think he's going to be able to handle that precision of MVP, man. I think MVP is going to get him out of there, and I think it's going to be another highlight reel. So, got to go with the MVP here. I think that they obviously want MVP to get the win, and I think he's going to do it. So, as far as the parlay goes for those 3 fights that I gave you, I would say just parlay MVP and Oliver Enkamp. They're both around minus 220, I believe, minus 210, minus 220. I think that's pretty good numbers for both those guys. I think they'll both get the win. And in terms of, I don't know if they're going to open up odds for the rest of the fights, but if they do, I do believe that Terry Brazier will probably get the win, and I think that Sal Rogers will maybe get the win as well as Alan O'Mara. But I don't know if they're going to open odds for that, and I probably wouldn't bet on that because it's more a little bit low level. But there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching, and make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and always support the channel. So I'll talk to you guys later.